Hi guys, I'm Athena, and today I'm going to do a language learning tag, or language tag it's called, which I originally saw this tag on Lingo Steve's channel. And if you don't know Lingo Steve, he's a really awesome language learner who makes different videos about how to learn languages, and he also makes videos in the various languages that he's learned. So, I think he's a great inspiration of someone who, speaks a lot of languages and can keep up with them and has a very, set language learning creed when it comes to how you should teach yourself languages. But I would totally recommend his channel, and I would also recommend Miss Sewell's channel. She's the girl who originally came up with this language tag, so thank you, Miss Sewell, for coming up with this. It's really great questions, and I think it'll be really fun to answer. And I put the questions down in the description box, so if you would like to answer this tag as well, you can just make a video response and then add it to this video and I'll approve it. And since there's 11 questions, I'm just going to jump right in and get started. What do you consider to be your native language? I consider English to be my native language, despite that I learned English and Greek bilingually until I was 3. And I say that English is my native language primarily because it's the language I went on to speak the most throughout my childhood. What was your first language learning experience? When I was in like 5th, 6th grade, I did several Spanish classes in my grade school, and these classes were super low-key. All you did was you got together with a group of like 20 students during lunch 2 times a month, and you would do like bingo that had different Spanish words on it. Like I think we did animal bingo and like colors bingo, and then you would get candy at the end. But yeah, that was my first official language learning experience. What languages have you studied and why did you start them? Okay, I'm just going to say the languages that I studied in a formal setting because it would be a really long list to talk about all the ones that I've studied and started and then stopped them and blah blah blah. But like I said, Spanish was the first language. I took Spanish the first time because it was the only other language that was available, and I thought it would be fun because I've always had an interest in languages. And then the reason I took it, I ended up taking it again in high school, and the reason for that was because I wanted to take Italian as they were offering it for the first time at my school when I was a senior. But the disciplinarian had told me that you would only be able to take it if you could take it for 2 years, and because I was a senior, I wasn't allowed to do that. So then my second choice was Latin, and then I didn't have time in my schedule when the Latin class is going to take place. So then I was put in Spanish. I also took French for 4 years in high school, and the reason I started taking French was, well, I actually made a video about this the other day in French, but I used to travel to Canada a lot when I was a kid, and I had also already visited France before, and just seeing French culture and French Canadian culture, even, over a brief amount of time, gave me an interest in learning French. And also because I'm a very history-oriented person, I love learning about different times in history, and because France has played a great role in like European history, and also as the French language was this is where I start sounding like a nerd, sorry. But also as the French language was the lingua franca for quite some time, I think it's important. I think there's lots of different texts and things that you can read in French from those, from really important times in history. Then I also studied German, and that's what I'm currently studying at university. And the reason I'm studying German is because I want to become a translator for German, specifically for the written language, but I am probably going to go and try and get an interpreting license, because it would be a nice option if I could also do spontaneous translations. And for those of you who are interested in what my translating jobs are at the moment, I was actually asked if I would be able to translate something for the university where I'm currently at in Germany, just for their website. But so I think we can call that my first official translating job. So I'm waiting, like in the next week, I should get the materials of things they want me to translate for them, which is awesome. And then The last language that I've studied in a formal setting would be Irish, which I did a 1-week language course for that last year in August in New York. And then I'll be doing the same course at the same place this August. And so over the next couple months, I'm trying to really like improve my Irish so that I can wow the people who I met there last year. Okay, I need to fix how I'm sitting, sorry. How does your personality affect how you learn languages? Okay, I was debating how I should answer this question when I first read it because I'm a very analytical person, and when I think of personality, I think of personality in a very psychological context. And so like when people ask me about my personality, I'll like rattle off like all these weird things about personality that usually people wouldn't talk about. But I would generally say I'm a perfectionist, and when I do something, I feel that I have to do it to the best of my abilities, and if I haven't done it to the best of my abilities, I will redo it and or repeat it until I've done it perfectly. So in that respect, I could do the same grammar exercise for like 3 hours straight and never get tired of it, basically. So yeah, I'll do lots of things, like lots of repetition when it comes to language learning, simply so that I can get something done the right way. Or at least to the best of my abilities. Do you prefer learning languages in a class or individually? Definitely individually. I think that once you've studied lots of different languages, you know, I'm gonna say lots being more than 2, but you know, like 3 or 4, but I don't know, since I taught myself German and have been teaching myself other languages, I always get really critical of what's being taught in language classes, and I'm you know, critical of the methods that are used, not the teachers. Like, you know, I know that the teachers are just going with the material that was either provided to them or that they use, but like that they choose to use, but I don't know, I feel like in lots of language classes they teach things that I think are irrelevant and unapplicable to just any studies you might have to do in that language. So I'm very critical of language learning classes, actually, and I don't think I fit in well with them. What are your favorite language learning materials? Okay, at the moment, hold on, I will grab it because I should have grabbed this when I first read the thing. But, okay, so this is the Pons brand, and I really enjoy the Pons brand, and I'm using it for, like, this says for English, but technically it's for German. This is, you know, it has, it's like a dual translation where it has different, like, phrases on the one side in German and then phrases on the other side in English, and it's talking about things like how to indicate agreement or disagreement, how to concede, how to cite a public opinion, and just, you know, in educated English, or educated German, you can use it the opposite way, you know, how you can use certain phrases and stuff. So I really like this. I also I use dictionaries a lot because I think I'm at the point in my German language learning at the moment where what I really have to do is increase my vocabulary. Because with the basic grammar, I'm already, you know, generally familiar with most of the basic grammar points. And yeah, so this Pons brand generally, and also the Duden Abitur information that they have, like there's different books that are things that you need, like if you're a German student who's gonna do their A-levels, these are the topics that you have to cover. I have those for those, that was very weird, but I have those for so German and English and history and politics, or no, just politics and economy, I think. But so I'm going through those topics and like basically seeing like what topics have I not covered so that I can improve my German and those other areas into the levels of, you know, what level no, that was so badly formulated, I'm sorry. But I'm using those Abitur books just to, you know, assure that my basic knowledge of the language covers up to the 12th or 13th grade of the German high school. Yeah, that was a terrible answer to that question. I apologize. How much time do you spend actively learning per day and per week? Well, first of all, I think it depends on the time of year because right now it's the end of the semester, so I don't really have time to be doing lots of extra language learning than I would usually do. But in the moment, I'm doing half an hour a day for Irish, Greek, and French. Sometimes French goes over into like an hour. Like usually I'll do French a bit more throughout the week, but it really depends on the day. And then just briefly to say what I did when I was learning German, because everybody asked me, you know, how much time did you put aside to be like memorizing the German dictionary basically? And I, like on a weekday when I was learning it the first 2 years, junior and senior year of high school, I would do 3 hours a day of German studying and then about 5 hours on the weekend. And people say, you know, how did you have time to do that? Because I was taking college courses already when I was in high school. And yeah, the way that I had time to get all of my things done was basically that I had insomnia. And so when you're sleeping for 3 hours a night, you have extra time to get things done. And I say that all the time, and it sounds like I'm joking, but I'm not. Like, yeah, I was up all night in high school. What are your short and long-term language learning goals? My short-term goals, like I said, are to improve my Irish for August so that I can wow the other Irish learners at that Irish language learning course. And also to improve my Greek, you know, A2 level by the end of the year is what I'm hoping for. The same thing with Irish, but generally, you know, just improving my Greek a lot this year would be awesome. And then my long-term language learning goals are definitely to become a translator for German, potentially also see about doing some French translations if I can improve my French to that level. And then, you know, just learn other languages and things like that. What is your favorite language? Everybody's gonna think that I'm gonna say German, but it's not. German is not my favorite language. My favorite language is actually English, and yeah, I'm like totally fascinated with the English language, and as German is a Germanic language, I'm going back through history to learn different types of English. Next on my list is Old English because I've actually done some studies with Middle English already, and I read on a weekly basis texts in Middle English, so yeah, English. I'm totally obsessed with English dictionary and etymology, and I'm primarily a writer, which I don't think I like let that clear that much, or like I don't really talk about that much on my channel, but I'm primarily a writer, and I'm really obsessed with the English language and with always using the right word in English and stuff. What is the next language you want to learn? Well, see, it's like a three-way tie between Latin, Old English, and Turkish. So we'll see what I have time for. Maybe I'll do more than one at a time, but I'm gonna wait on those at least 1 year until I would really be dedicated to, you know, have the time to be dedicated to those languages on a daily basis. And now it's time for the final question, which is, what advice can you give to new language learners? And I actually have 2 bits of advice. My first bit of advice is that if you want to learn a language, you should go ahead and learn that language. Don't let other people try to bias you towards learning one language over another. If you want to learn a language, just go for it. And then the second bit of advice is to never give up. There can be times in language learning when you think that you'll never understand the grammar, or you'll think, I'll never be able to speak this, or I'll never be able to understand native speakers. Just calm down and just dedicate yourself to the language, and I guarantee that, you know, if you're very dedicated, you will be able to understand that language and you'll do pretty well in it. And yeah, so that's the language tag. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and like I said, if you want to make a video response, feel free to. I'll see you next week. Bye!